Right now, the day's biggest news stories from a Vegas perspective. This is the Vegas Take with Sharp and Shapiro.
All right, welcome back. It is the Vegas Take, hour number 3. Glad you could join us, Sharp and Shapiro. By the way, coming up here at the bottom of the hour, it is incredible how sports gambling is just growing and growing and growing. So Brett Smiley from sportshandle.com, he knows exactly what's going on, which states are about to legalize. He'll be joining us coming up at the bottom of the hour. Of course, we have plenty of NFL to get to. Amazing. The Saints and the Patriots are out of the playoffs. We'll talk about that a little bit later on the program. But sticking in the sports theme, I enjoy watching Vegas Golden Knights games. I grew up a Hartford Whalers season ticket holder back in the day. I enjoy covering the team. Games are so much fun to watch. To me, it's the most exciting in-person sporting event when you're at an NHL hockey game. And, of course, the Vegas Golden Knights have done a fantastic job winning a lot of hockey games. I mean, I'm stating the obvious here, right? But in year one, making the Stanley Cup Finals is beyond incredible. And then the great year they had last year and a really good year they're having this year. So nothing to take away from Gallant, the coaching staff, the management. They have done a fantastic job in putting together a great franchise in this third year and the first 2 years, obviously. I'm stating obviosities, okay? But I bring up the Vegas Golden Knights, beside the fact that they had a great come-from-behind victory against the Blues over the weekend. And they had a good game against the Philadelphia Flyers. Flyers are a pretty good team, and they were able to defeat the Flyers. So it was a good emotional win for the Vegas Golden Knights. And then a guy by the name of David Schoen, I believe. He works for the Review-Journal. I don't know him personally. I know he covers the team. Never mentioned his name. Never really had a conversation with the guy before, so I got nothing against him. I think he asked a very legitimate question. So I want you to hear this exchange. Again, this was the other day, last week, after the Vegas Golden Knights defeated the Philadelphia Flyers. This is the post-game press conference with the head coach of the Vegas Golden Knights in Gallant. Here it goes.
You guys have struggled against teams that are kind of, I guess, above you in the standings, playoff teams, things like that. How much, I guess, important was it for you guys to get a win, maybe make a statement against a team that's obviously playing well right now?
We're negative tonight, aren't we? Like, struggle against teams. We're in first place, and I thought we've had a good run the last 20-some games. And
just against the teams that are...
so we're not, so the whole league isn't a good league anymore. Like, come on. We just won a big game with, what are we, 10-3-2, whatever the last, like... Did we not play good enough tonight to win? We're not the better team tonight?
So I'm saying is it just against a good team?
Yeah, that's the only team we can beat are the bad teams, supposedly. Like what?
Okay, so Gallant walks off. Let me be very clear on this one. And as I like to call this guy who writes articles for the Review-Journal, Ed the Ass Kisser Graney, here's what I mean by that, okay? He takes Schoen's side, and he said it was a legitimate question. I agree with him on that. Here's why it's a legitimate question. The Vegas Golden Knights right now are 8-9-4 against playoff caliber teams, and they're 3-6-1 against teams ahead of them in points. Completely legitimate question. They are not beating the good hockey teams consistently. They're just not. And by the way, I want to give credit to the Vegas Golden Knight ladies on their Twitter feed for giving us that audio. They're not beating the elite teams in the NHL. Does that mean the Vegas Golden Knights are a bad team? No. Does it not mean that they didn't play well against the Flyers? No, that's not what Schoen said. But Gallant is way, way, way off on this one. First of all, it is your job to answer questions. While I think it was a completely legitimate question, if he just answered it by saying, I'm not going to be negative, I'm not going to answer that question tonight because we just had a great win against Philadelphia, I still would have a little problem with that, but I would say, okay, he wants to be positive. But here's my issue with this. With professional athletes, with coaches, it is their job to answer questions. Now, if you don't like a question, you don't have to answer it.
Part of their job is to answer questions. There's an expectation to handle the media with respect and vice versa.
What was wrong with that question?
Nothing.
Why did he get so damn defensive?
He got defensive because he relates to it, because he knows it's true and he's not happy about it. because he knows.
Why is he such a crybaby?
It's simple in sports. If your record is 11-16 against playoff teams is after 27 games, which is a decent size sample size, and 3-6 against opponents who are probably going to be top 3 or top 4 playoff teams on each side of the conference, then there is a chance. There's actually a pretty decent chance that you're not going to go that far in the playoffs, and he knows that, and that's why he responded that way.
But there are people in the media like Ed the Ass Kisser that are saying that Gallant didn't do anything wrong, and this is typical. Whether it's typical or not.
Well, it is typical Gallant. He's not great with the media, nor does he enjoy interviews.
I'm tired of this. He gives
but
short
responding like that and basically embarrassing this interview to me is a problem.
Listen, I'm just going to call it for what it is. He is a crybaby. It is not the media's job to kiss his ass. It is not the media's job to kiss anybody's ass. You report on the team. You give your opinions. Doesn't mean the media's opinions are always right. But this isn't even an opinion. This is a fact. You want me to read the record again? This is why it is 150% a fair question. And there's people, idiots in the media in this town that cover the Knights are saying, well, he didn't word it the right way. What are you talking about? He didn't word it the right way. He worded it exactly the way you should handle it. He wasn't knocking the team or saying, oh, you can't beat good teams. He said, basically, you've struggled against the elite teams. What does it mean for your team? He was actually being positive. He said, what does it mean for your team? The statement you made tonight to beat a good hockey team. It was a positive question.
And they beat the St. Louis Blues, correct?
This was after the Philadelphia Flyers game. They just beat the Blues, but I'm not talking about the Blues. I'm just talking about after the Philadelphia Flyers game, another good hockey team. This was a positive question because he ended it in a positive way. This guy did absolutely nothing wrong. I take his side 100%. Why is Gallant such a crybaby? Listen, he's a very good hockey coach. This organization has done phenomenal things. I will not understate that. Phenomenal what they've done year 1, year 2, and so far in year 3. This is a good hockey team. This is a playoff hockey team. There's a reason why they're where they're at in the standings. They're very good. They're a good playoff team. Do I think they're going to win the Stanley Cup? No. Do I think they're going to win the Western Conference? No. I think they have a chance to get to the Western Conference Finals, but they do struggle against the elite teams because I don't think they're an elite team. That is just my personal opinion. And it's not being negative, Gallant. It's about being honest. Why couldn't you answer the question like this? We'd like to win every hockey game. We'd like to defeat, the better teams in the league. I think we're on the way to do that. Why couldn't he say that? That would have been easy. Move on to the next question.
I don't have an issue. I mean, I'm not saying he has to answer it any specific way, but handling it that way, the way that he did, was just
classless.
Was totally unacceptable and unprofessional.
I agree. Completely classless is the word. He got up and he left.
And to me, I think that he knows this guy's right. And he's worried about it because you're looking at I'll call it a 5 to 7 game series based on this record. They're not going to make it out of round 1.
Well, I'm not about to go that far. But the point I'm trying to make here is very simple. And it is that Gallant did not handle this properly. Ed the Ass Kisser wants to write an article and defend Gallant, which doesn't surprise me. This is also the same idiot that wrote an article saying that Tony Sanchez did everything here but win. So this guy has zero credibility as far as I'm concerned.
Do you think he actually believes the things that he writes, or he just? I could never report on something that I actually don't think. I could never just make. I couldn't think against what I'm actually believing. I couldn't just to appease a specific part of my readership or my listenership or my viewer base, whatever it is. I couldn't just lie to these people and not be. I don't have it in me to do that. So you think he actually believes what he thinks? What he's writing?
I'll answer it by saying this. I don't think you have to have played a sport or be elite as an athlete to be a good sports writer. But with that being said, I certainly think it helps.
It matters.
And I don't believe Ed Graney from the Review-Journal has ever played a sport at a high level in his life.
He may have been a good bowler.
Here's what I also believe. He's been writing for a very long time. He thinks he's Mr. Invincible, and all of his opinions matter more than they do. I believe he also thinks that, and I also think he's an ass kisser. And he's also on the wrong side of history when it comes to a lot of things, including UNLV. He was a big supporter of Dave Rice. He was friends with Dave Rice. He was a big supporter of him. He was wrong about that. He was wrong about Marvin Menz. He's wrong about a lot of things. But I don't mind it if somebody's wrong about a lot of things. I mind it when you can't take a stand on something, too. And this whole interaction where he's defending David Schoen, which I agree with, his coworker, and then he defends Gallant, too. Take a frickin' stand on something, you wussy. I'm tired of people in this town. They'll go after certain people, if they don't other people's in the media. But when it comes to UNLV, the Vegas Golden Knights, take a frickin' stand on something, you wussy. How can you defend a coach walking out of a press conference getting angry after one of your coworkers asked a perfectly legitimate question, and you're going to say it's typical and it's fine and it's not a big deal? Shame on you. I hope they rip your credential from your neck, because you don't deserve to cover this team. You've got no heart, and I'm tired of it. I'm tired of people in this town that do crap like that. I'm tired of it. I support you. I want UNLV basketball to succeed, but there are some people in the media that think they're a Final Four team because they've won a couple games. I'm tired of it. It's a joke. When you read somebody's article like that and they make it's okay, this gets me so riled up. I got to take a deep breath. It's okay for the head coach of an organization to walk angrily and embarrass a reporter who asked a perfectly legitimate question. People should call him out for that.
Let me ask you this. What if Gallant had given us 4 interviews in the last 16 months on our show?
I don't care. That has nothing to do with what I'm talking about.
You don't have a little bit of anger because we haven't gotten a chance to interview Gallant.
And by the way, here's where I agree with Marc-Andre Fleury. Here's why I agree. He said, I hope someone asks Turk again. I want to see what happens. I do too. I don't cover the team at practices. I don't go to their press conferences, but I hope somebody does ask that question again because I think it's a legitimate question. And let's see the way he reacts this time. I bet you he won't react the same way. I bet you he won't walk out of the press conference. And here's the way I would phrase the question. Coach, you guys have been playing some great hockey over the last few weeks, and the standings certainly prove that. I understand you were very unhappy with the question that the reporter asked from the RJ after you went over Philadelphia. But can you please answer this question? Why is it you think that you've struggled against some of the elite teams in the league, and do you consider this team an elite team? That's exactly the way I would phrase the question. That is perfectly, and you know what, if he went off with me, if he went off on me, I would just stand there and say it's a perfectly legitimate question.
He would look very bad if he did that.
I wouldn't backtrack. I think that is a perfectly legitimate question. Why is it that people in this town give people like Gallant a pass? Why? I asked why. Because they have a relationship with the Vegas Golden. I don't understand. Are they afraid they're going to get their credential taken away?
I think part of it is that they want their questions to be answered. They want to be able to get content. Remember, this is all about generating content for KTNV or Las Vegas.
They're not going to take your credentials away for asking a question.
Hear me out, Brian. And I think that they're very, very happy that Las Vegas finally has professional sports, and they're doing whatever they can to foster that. But the bottom line is when you report like that, and you're totally biased in one direction, even when someone makes a mistake, you lose credibility to your readership and to your listenership and to your viewership, and that doesn't fly in major markets. And I think that a lot of these reporters, they still think that Las Vegas is a small market, and then the truth is Las Vegas is growing. And honestly, if you look at it, you look at the average on paper, Las Vegas is a market 35, but I would say probably 80% of males follow sports in Las Vegas. I would say that probably 70% of women and males in Las Vegas follow sports. And I think that based on that data, Las Vegas is more like market 5 or 6. So with professional sports coming to Las Vegas, and with the NBA and the NFL and NHL and MLB and the Aces, right now you have to report accurately. I think you're going to have to report accurately to make it in Las Vegas as a writer, and I don't think that a lot of writers in this city understand that yet.
Let me be very clear, though. This could be market number 1 or market number 300. I would still be giving the same opinions. I think Ed Graney is an ass kisser. Here's what he writes in his article, which is completely academic to the story. We know the Vegas Golden Knights have played well over the course of the last month or so. So he writes in his article in Defending Gallant, they're 15-6-3 since November 17th, have compiled an NHL best 33 points over that span. That is completely academic to the question. We all know they've been winning games over the last month. The question is they're not winning games against the elite teams in the league on a consistent basis. The record speaks for itself on that. It has nothing to do with how they've played over the last month. And you're defending Gallant, walking out of a press conference, embarrassing a reporter who asked a very legitimate question. He needs to be called out for that.
And I'll be honest about this. Las Vegas Golden Knights, they're now number 1 in futures to win the NHL Stanley Cup. They're 7-1.
They're not winning the Stanley Cup.
I don't think they are either. But Westgate and a lot of major books in Vegas,
because they know they're going to get a lot of action from Vegas
fans. They're getting
fans.
a ton of action, and they've been playing. I mean, the Blues were 26-10. They beat them at home. They beat the Flyers, obviously. So they are playing well. Picking up Chandler Stevenson was a big deal. He scored 8 goals since he joined the team. So they've made the team better. But do I think they're elite? No, I don't.
Listen, people lose their cool sometimes. It happens to me all the time. Then again, I'm not the head coach of an NHL team. But am I saying Gallant committed a crime here? No. But what I am saying is he acted inappropriately at the press conference. It was inappropriate, and at the very least, he should have apologized to David Schoen. But he won't do that because I believe he has a huge ego. He's not good with the media. He gives short answers. Look, there are some people within the Vegas Golden Knights organization, I'm talking about some players, that are fantastic with the media. And then there are some players that are not. And that's okay. Maybe you're just not a social person. Maybe you're just not very good and you don't like the media. Whatever the case may be, that's fine. We all have different personalities. That's the way Gallant is. He's just not great with the media, period. But that's not why I'm going after him today. I'm going after him with his behavior and the way he acted after that press conference. And if people like Ed Graney want to defend him and they want to say, well, it's not really a big deal, two professionals, go about their way, and that's kind of what he said, Gallant did not act like a professional in that moment. He was not a professional. He didn't respond the right way. It's bad enough that he's not great with the media. He doesn't give great answers. But to respond like that is absolutely ridiculous. You can't. What is the issue here? You can't. It's amazing. You can't be critiqued at all. Is your team perfect? Give me a break.
It comes down to being very, very insecure and recognize the fact that this reporter was correct in asking that question because he related to it.
Yeah.
That being said, I don't think Gallant has had to be good with the media. He came into a situation, again, Vegas was thrilled to have professional sport. And then he comes out and he makes the Stanley Cup Finals. I mean, who was going to question him at that point? In his first year in a brand new expansion organization.
See, but this isn't about winning.
But that's why he hasn't had to really answer to the media because everybody just kind of worships him like a god because he's been so successful.
Which is ridiculous.
Vegas is so happy to have just like the same thing will happen with John Gruden when he's here with the Raiders. Mm-hmm. Because again, Vegas they're very, very we are very, very fortunate and excited to have professional sports here.
We're very excited to have the Raiders coming to town. But I'm going to tell you something. If John Gruden is doing a press conference after a game and he treats a member of the media the same way Gallant treated a member of the media, I would say the exact same thing.
And the thing is, Gruden would never do that because he's a charismatic guy. He's great with the media. That would never take place. But that's why I think Gallant has gotten a pass because he's been so successful. Had he not been successful.
But you agree with me. You don't think he deserves a pass.
Well, no, I'll put it this way. Had he not been successful, and he treated the media the same way, I don't think he'd still be here.
Do you remember Marvin Menzies at a practice when he said there were racial epithets? When he knew his job was on the line, he made that racial epithets comment, and then a couple months later he loses his job. I think that was certainly a part of it. And in no way am I saying Gallant's going to lose his job. He's doing a fantastic job. I've said that from the beginning. He's a great coach. This organization, every single member of the coaching staff, to management, to scouting, they have all done a fantastic job. And this has nothing to do with that. It has everything to do with the way he behaved in that press conference.
And he knows that, and that's why he's able to behave the way he does. Because he's been successful. The city needs professional sports.
Yeah. I'll tell you what the city doesn't need. You know what they don't need? Another ass kisser like Ed Graney writing articles, not doing his job properly. That's what I'm going to say. We don't need more Ed Graneys in Las Vegas, the ass kissers of journalism. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, speaking of hockey, remember this story? Former Stars coach Jim Montgomery. We were trying to figure out why he got fired. Well, we have a little insight into what has taken place. I'll explain what that means coming back. You're listening to The Vegas Take right here on the all-new 101.5 FM, 720 AM, KDON.